3D gun dispute. Here's what happened today. Federal judge stepped in with a temporary injunction, okay? And that's what it sounds like. This is not over. But for now, there will be no more blueprints to make 3D printable weapons online, but only for now. Now, what's the White House position on this? They say the guns are already illegal, which is true. However, it is also true that the federal government settled a lawsuit that allowed these instructions to be posted online. Alan Gottlieb's Second Amendment Foundation was part of that lawsuit. He joins us now. Alan, welcome to Primetime, and thank you. The government role in this is very confusing. I say we focus on what is more simple for people to absorb. You tell me, why is it good for people to be able to download blueprints to make 3D printable weapons? Why is this a good thing?
Well, first of all, Chris, this is a First Amendment issue that just happens to deal with firearms that are protected by the Second Amendment. And putting computer code on the internet is a language, and language is speech, and speech is protected by the First Amendment. The reason why we're so concerned about being able to do it is we've got places like San Francisco now where there are no gun stores at all for people to be able to buy a gun, or places like Alameda County in California where zoning ordinances put gun stores, out of the county, or places like Seattle that put taxes on guns and ammunition driving gun stores out of the city so people have no way to buy a firearm. What this does for the future is it allows people to ensure a way to be able to have a firearm. If you're allowed to own a firearm, in your own home, you should be allowed to make the firearm in your own home if you can't buy one locally because of crazy restrictions.
Okay, so two arguments. One is, if anybody right now, and they should, not while we're speaking, of course, but in the commercial, Google availability of firearms in California. They will find nothing that is speaking to a shortage of weapons in California, okay? Plenty of guns per capita, plenty of gun crime in that state as a result. And you're leaving something out in your First Amendment analysis, which is the right to have what you're dismissing as speech. Not everybody has a right to a gun, right? Certain people fall into categories where they can't get them. Certain people fall into categories where they should not get them. And what you're trying to do, apparently, is give everybody a chance, even if they're in those categories. Is that good?
No, Chris, that's not what we're trying to do. In fact, all the laws that prohibit that stay on the books. We're not removing any of those whatsoever.
How? Well, you're not removing the law.
Hold on. A criminal...
But you're removing the mechanism for enforcement because you're giving people an ability to cut out all the necessary middlemen so they can't be vetted. They just have to take the blueprints. They make their own weapon. That's the point.
Chris, a criminal who's going to break a law or commit mayhem is going to get a gun now anyway, like they always do, or there'd be no gun crime right now.
But they're probably not going to make a very expensive 3D printable gun. They'll just get one off the street. A few years ago, when Cody Wilson and Defense Distributor put these plans on the internet, there were 100 to 200,000 downloads of the plans to do it. Lots of people have already made these guns. Not one has been used in a crime. Not one. So a lot of this hysteria out there is just a little bit ridiculous. Do we know that, or we don't know that any have been caught committing a crime with the gun?
Well, we know it because they'd have the gun and they'd be able to show it. And here's a 3D printed gun.
That's if they were caught.
There's no crime report anywhere in the United States. There's no crime report anywhere in the United States where anybody has misused one of these guns to begin with.
But how would you know unless somebody were
California.
apprehended and was proven to have used one of them, right?
Well, you would know it by the ballistics of the bullet and everything else, and it's pretty obvious.
We'll tell you that it's a ghost gun?
You mentioned Chris in California, that it's, there are guns all over right now, and there's gun crime. There's also a lot of self-defense with firearms in California as well, which you don't want to talk about. But the truth of the matter is we both know in California every year the restrictions get tighter and tighter and tighter. And there's less places to buy guns, there's less guns for availability in California because of a handgun roster they've got in the state that keep taking guns off and no new guns get added to it. So what we're looking at is protecting the Second Amendment rights in the future by using First Amendment rights to do so.
But it assumes a need that outweighs the national security interest, which is what we've seen different courts say now. You have to balance them. How it will come out, we'll see on the merits. But I'll tell you what bothered me about this, and it wasn't you, but when one of the designers of the code, there was a restriction. Why is it illegal? Well, you got to be able to detect these weapons when they go through a metal detector, and these have no metal. So they made a part that was metal in the weapon so it could be detected. However, that part is removable, and the weapons sometimes still function. What the hell is that about? Why would anybody want to make it so that you can remove what makes it detected and the weapon still works? Why would you do that?
Well, first of all, if the weapon had a bullet in it, it would still be detectable because the bullet would be detected. So again, this is a little bit of hysteria. This isn't what happens.
It's not hysteria, it's a question. And what if you transport it without the bullets and you get the bullets somewhere else?
Well, if you're in a secure area where you're not supposed to be with the gun,
why would you do that, Alan? Why
with.
would you stand behind somebody doing something as pernicious as that? I hear you on the First Amendment. I get your argument. But that just seems so afoul of what we want to protect against, which is a deceptive practice. Why stand behind it?
This is not a deceptive practice. If somebody breaks the law, they should be prosecuted for it. By the way, we just want to go back real quickly to the judge's TRO today.
You gave them the plans to do it, is what I'm saying. Go ahead. What's your last point?
The TRO is not against Defense Distributed, Cody Wilson, or the Second Amendment, Defense Foundation. It was against the federal government.
Right.
Actually, these plans can still be put on the internet because there is no TRO against us doing it.
Well, what the judge said was that for now he wants this held in abeyance, so it should stay, according to the reckoning of the Washington State Attorney, where it was before all of this. That's what they're hoping for right now. But in any case, it's certainly temporary.
The plans have already been up and already been downloaded several thousands of times.
That is true. Like 2,500 times they've already been downloaded. And the question is, how does this make us better and safer? We'll see how it plays out in the courts. And then you, sir, are welcome to come back and tell me why it's a good thing. Be well.
And I'll do that. Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it.